For years he was the most wanted man on the planet. A name that sparked fear in the United States and admiration among extremist cells across the world. To many he was a symbol of hate. To others an untouchable myth. But behind the headlines, behind the satellites, the technology, the propaganda, and the war, there was a man. Isolated. Aging. Trapped not just in a hideout, but inside the very persona he had created. This is not just the story of Osama bin Laden's death, but of his final chapter. A tale that blends truth, speculation, strategy, and silence. A story told from behind the scenes, where war is not only waged with weapons, but with decisions, omissions, and power games. Inside CIA corridors as early as 2006, rumors began to circulate. One of the listening satellites detected unusual communication patterns in a civilian area of Pakistan, near Abbottabad. These were not typical guerrilla messages. They were encoded, spaced, meticulously timed. The kind of pattern only someone extremely disciplined and trained in evasion could execute. At the same time, the NSA intercepted a letter, sent on physical paper, rare in that era, by one of bin Laden's most trusted couriers. The content was religious, vague, but the metadata stood out. The paper, the ink, the seal, all pointed to the same geographical location. While the world believed bin Laden was hiding in caves or tribal zones, he was living just steps away from a military academy, hidden in plain sight. But what was he doing there? That's where the records get murky. Pakistani intelligence officials denied any knowledge. But internal documents showed strange financial activity between local officers and businesses that supplied the compound where bin Laden lived. There were also silent reports from Saudi intelligence, suggesting bin Laden was no longer seen as an active priority. He was considered outdated, almost symbolic. A political burden to those who once swore allegiance. And perhaps that's exactly why he was left where he was. Inside the compound, life was minimalistic. A small garden, self-help books, old Al-Qaeda videos, and notebooks full of handwritten reflections. According to unofficial sources, bin Laden obsessively kept a journal about his historical image. He no longer led the war. He wrote about it. His obsession had shifted, legacy. And that's when the U.S. operation gained another layer of complexity. For 2 years the compound was surveilled. Routines mapped. Garbage secretly collected. Shadows analyzed by drones. Everything indicated that the man inside never left. And paradoxically, that was the greatest sign. It had to be him. In 2011 the decision was made. Not just to capture him, but for broader strategic purposes. The Obama administration needed a concrete win. Domestic approval was declining, and the war on terror had become a black hole. Killing bin Laden meant more than justice. It meant political capital. The mission was named Operation Neptune Spear. And unlike what many believe, it wasn't a suicide mission. It was rehearsed meticulously. A replica of the compound was built in the U.S. The SEALs trained for weeks without knowing the true target. Only on the eve were they informed. In the early hours of the operation, silence dominated. Stealth helicopters cut through the sky. Upon entering, they encountered little to no resistance. Bin Laden, according to internal reports never officially disclosed, was unarmed. He tried to flee, but hesitated. The shot was clean. Double. Lethal. His body was scanned and identified with instant biometrics. DNA confirmation came within hours. But the story doesn't end there. It only begins. Why not show the body? Why bury him at sea within 24 hours? Officially, to avoid making him a martyr. To prevent a grave from becoming a shrine. To respect Islamic customs. Unofficially, some say the face was disfigured. That image manipulation was a risk. That the truth had to be clean, symbolic, unquestionable. But unquestionable truth does not exist in war. Leaked documents years later indicated that parts of the mission were concealed for diplomatic reasons. Pakistan was informed, but only after. Or maybe, according to another theory, they knew everything all along. And perhaps most disturbing of all, 22 members tied to the operation died months later in a helicopter crash that remains shrouded in mystery. The dossier remains open. Between official reports and alternative leaks, one thing is certain. Osama bin Laden is dead. But his death raised more questions than his life. And perhaps, that was exactly what some wanted. The documents exist. The interpretation is still yours.